Here's an idea. The Lego Movie makes a case for free and open culture. If you haven't seen the Lego Movie, allow me to quickly assemble the pieces. Lego man Emmett accidentally finds the mystical, magical piece of resistance, the only object capable of stopping the Kraggle. A powerful weapon which, in the hands of President aka Lord Business, will stop creativity by freezing everything in place because, spoiler alert, it's crazy glue. In the end, good triumphs over evil, and we learn the story has been fueled by Finn, the stifled flesh and blood son of the man upstairs, a godlike figure and Lord Business analog who gets frustrated when his meticulously built Lego set is used for childish tomfoolery.
Dragon on top of the luxury condo development.
Now, Andrew Heaton over at Econ Pop sees the Lego Movie as being about centralized planning versus emergent order. He sees Lord Business as a dictator who considers himself solely capable of running the Lego show. Heaton mentions how though you could view the movie as an anti-commerce screed, the nature of its production and success disqualifies it from that reading. I wonder though, if it is so disqualified. Like, is Sid and Nancy disqualified from saying salient things about the dark side of celebrity because it stars famous Hollywood actors? Do books about the dangers of global warming not make their points because they're printed and shipped using non-renewable resources? I totally see Andrew's point, but I also think sometimes it's hard to say what a piece of media does and does not do based upon what it is. Meaning is made in people, not entirely by media, and it's totally fair, if not often desired, when an audience makes meaning that is opposed to the message of whatever medium a work is in. It's when a particular interpretation works against the text, not the intentions of the creators, but what you could effectively argue is present in the work, intended or not, that one risks a bad faith reading or reading too far into something, which can also be fun and useful, but ideally you know when you're doing that. I bring this up because even though it is a massive budget Hollywood film that licensed intellectual property from Hogwarts to Gotham, and even though Lego is an aggressively litigious company when it comes to protecting their IP, I want to make the case that the Lego Movie presents a great argument for non-restrictive copyright and open culture. And because I feel like it's only appropriate, I want to make that case as Lego Mike, with slightly more hair. In the movie, I see Lord Business as representing a strict copyright regime, some combination of government and private sector who, for the most part, has the authorities unquestioningly on its side. Creativity is the ability to rearrange pre-existing resources, meaning Lego bricks / culture and ideas, to make new things. The most creative people, master builders, can do this without instructions. I would say that they are artists. Business wants to stop old stuff from being turned into new stuff because to him, that's not the purpose of old stuff. The Kraggle will make old stuff unavailable by freezing it forever. That is strict copyright legislation. But what Business eventually realizes, as the man upstairs, is the importance of creativity and its relationship to the future, personified by Finn, who he was alienating through his desire for centralized planning. His change of heart inspires him to unglue the world. Originally, copyright was implemented to incentivize the creation of new things. If someone pens a novel, for a while, they alone have the right to copies made of it. If they don't give that right, any copies made infringe on their copyright. Ideally, eventually, that novel will enter into the public domain so that the public has access to it, to enjoy, use, create something new out of it without having to stress about money, licenses, lawsuits, etc. And with their old work now publicly available, the author is encouraged to make something new and repeat the whole process. As we mentioned in our happy birthday video though, copyright terms keep getting extended. Some stuff has been protected by copyright and therefore kept out of the public domain, unavailable for free and explicitly legal creative reuse, for much longer than was originally intended. This has created what Lawrence Lessig has called a cultural nobility. Quote, to build upon or critique the culture around us, one must ask, Oliver Twist-like, for permission.
Lisa.
And only the cultural nobility can afford that permission. And LEGO is in that cultural nobility. Since their patents started expiring in 1989, they have fought tooth and brick to extend their protection, to keep LEGO bricks craggled, unavailable for building upon. It didn't work though. Canada allowed their patent to expire, so did the EU, which is where they're based. Competitor companies like Tyco, Megablock, Coco started popping up and have also been the subject of many, many lawsuits. But have also maybe caused LEGO to realize that their corner on the block market isn't permanent. So LEGO has actually started changing their focus. In an article for CNET, Molly Wood talks about LEGO's transition from brick maker to license monger, focused on sets themed after popular entertainment properties, not general block-related creativity. The plan is profitable because LEGO can afford to ask permission and they know it's gonna sell. Relatedly, LEGO movie director Chris Miller talked with I Am Rogue about how this movie is something he could only do with LEGO, meaning they are the only company that could license Superman, Batman, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Shaq. No one else could do that. No one, because all of those characters and personalities are craggled in place unless you have the piece of resistance, which outside of Legoland, and until the law changes, is cash, and a lot of it. But okay, LEGO bricks are a rather particular case. Where else is the craggle of copyright? Well, how about Top 40 pop music? A while ago, Vsauce
Michael here
asked if we would ever run out of music. The answer was a confident no, but he does point out that pop music seems to have settled on relatively few ideas of what counts as good melody and chord progression. And he provides a few examples of sound-alikes from recent music history. But in recent history, there are more notable examples, specifically the similarities between Robin Thicke and Pharrell's Blurred Lines with Marvin Gaye's Gotta Give It Up. Which landed Thicke in court. The Marvin Gaye estate sued for infringement and won. The court ruled that there were parts, musical bricks, you might say, of Gotta Give It Up in Blurred Lines that Thicke didn't get appropriate permission, meaning pay, to use. A similar thing happened in Sam Smith's Stay With Me and Tom Petty's Won't Back Down. They settled out of court, but I think this renews the question of if we will ever run out of music, because on one hand, it is a joke. Ha 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 ha, popular music is formulaic. But on the other, there's an actual legal framework threatening new work, because in the nearly infinite catalog of copyrighted songs, whoops, maybe yours is gonna get you sued because it sounds like something else. The question isn't how long until every song is written, but how long until every pop music trope is craggled in place because Lord Business doesn't like people messing with his stuff. Maybe there's a real-life Finn out there who can show him the error of his ways. What do you guys think? Does the LEGO movie make a case for free and open culture? Let us know in the comments, and if you want to help Idea Channel in our ongoing battle against the craggle, please subscribe. Before we get to comments, I just want to say one thing really quick, which is that while we were editing and I was gathering my sources for this video, I came across a blog post by Greg Epstein over at Leftward Thinking that draws many of the same conclusions and even uses some of the same sources as this video. And I thought it would be remiss to not mention that I am aware of its existence. It's great. I think it's maybe just an example of great minds thinking alike, and it just so happens that my mind is about 8 months slower than Greg's. So if you want to see someone else's perspective on this topic, you should check out his post. It's a great one. We'll put a link in the doobly-doo. It's a good thing comments don't have read receipts, because then you'd see how early I wake up in the morning to read YouTube. Let's see what you guys had to say about iMessage. Dollar Store Coffee. Are you telling me that not every Android phone receives emojis? Because if that's the case, I have been sending some strange and cryptic text messages to my friends. This explains a lot, actually. Joost Shuur, you are absolutely right. What I meant to say was animated gipes. Adriaan Dippensaar talks about the added awkwardness of read receipts on Facebook, which is that, there's this possibility that someone is going to be sending you a very heartfelt message, someone you went to high school with in the past, an old coworker, and that you're gonna click on it to just see what they have to say, and you have this really long thing that you now have to sort of formulate a response to, but you're standing in line at the checkout counter at the grocery store, or like you just got called into the dentist. And this is a thing that I have experienced several times, and I am now terrified of Facebook messages because of it. We should have talked about this. Roxanne Baril-Bédard takes issue with the description of the green bubble color as being gross and talks about it being modern and vibrant, and I can absolutely see this point of view. I think it's also important to note, and we didn't mention this and we should have, that it is roughly the same color as Android Green. Todd Pheifer, high-waisted pantaloons, and Kisiak all talk about how the problem with read receipts is not necessarily the technology itself, but sort of the sender's expectation that they deserve an immediate response, and that there is some kind of technologically suggested thing that this type of communication is conversational. It should happen immediately or instantly, as Todd says. But that, when you're sending a text message, who knows what someone's life is like at that time? Maybe they can't respond, and that maybe it's worth thinking about read receipts the way that Igneous 900 in their comment talks about them, that it's not a disappointment when someone has read but not responded. It is sort of an affirmation that you haven't, and I want to quote this because I like it so much, that you haven't, screamed into the limitless unregulated data storage of the internet at large, which is, yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. Not my real name. Here's an idea. I still respect you, even though your ideas for what qualifies someone for being shown respect are seemingly unilateral and arbitrary. Luca Dantes mentions the really interesting thing about OkCupid, which apparently you can pay to see read receipts from the people that you message, which I don't even know what to do with that information. That's ridiculous. What? And finally, Professor Freeky, I am not going to be in Tucson anytime soon, but you might be excited to know that I will, in fact, be at the Phoenix Comic-Con this year. So if you want to take the short drive from Tucson to Phoenix to say, hey, I bet there's a good milk. I mean, it's dry heat, so there's got to be good milkshake places around. Oh, and this is the last week that you can send us records to put on the record wall. This week we got records from Morgan, Greg, and either Richard or Tyler. We couldn't really tell from the post. So if you want to send us stuff, please do. There's details in the doobly-doo. Some restrictions apply, like we're going to keep the stuff that you send us forever. This week's episode was brought to you by the hard work of these master builders. We have a Facebook and IRC and a subreddit links in the doobly-doo, and the tweet of the week comes from IanMacartney, who points us towards the perfect website. It's a fact. And hey, in case you were wondering, this episode of Idea Channel was brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is an easy way to create a website, blog, or online store for you and your ideas. Squarespace features user-friendly interface, custom templates, and 24/7 customer support. To try Squarespace, go to squarespace.com/ideachannel for a special offer. Squarespace, build it beautiful.